Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick tour of my doe barn. This is the night shelter where my does sleep. I've been asked a lot of questions about recommendations for building a goat shelter, so I wanted to tell you some things about that I like about mine and some things that I would change. The first is your gates. Your gates are always going to be the weak point in a pen or a fence or a barn. I use a lot of chain link gates. They're very durable. They also provide great ventilation. This is a feature that I really like about mine. This is a little safety chain. It is attached with a bolt on the inside, a chain without very much slack, and then on the outside it has this hook and eye little thing. This is great because it prevents animals from opening your gates accidentally. This really requires thumbs to operate. I have these on the top and bottoms of all of my gates. That's because if this lift latch fails, the gate will still remain closed. These lift latches, over time, these screws can loosen, and when an animal pushes on this, this can pivot around, letting the gate open. The other thing is that animals that are smart figure out that this motion is not very hard, even if you don't have thumbs. Always make sure that your gates open in towards the animals. That way they cannot push them outward. If you have a gate that is going to have animals on both sides, for instance this door to my milk parlor, always make sure that it opens to the side with the most animals on it. I won't have any more than 3 does in that parlor at a time, while the rest of them are out here in the paddock, so these doors open outward. Another useful thing is a hitching post. This is a piece of scrap fence that was driven into the ground. It has eye bolts that have been drilled into it, and I don't use this as much anymore. My goats all come when called. I used to use this a lot more if I had to catch animals. It's great for if you're going to sell an animal so they can already be caught up. It's also great for gathering animals when it's time for vaccinations or hoof trimming. You can chain them to this post so you can work through them very quickly. I had chains hanging from this so that the animals could stand comfortably. A chain of about 20 centimeters or 9 inches lets them stand comfortably next to this post. This has 3 eye bolts, so I could have multiple animals attached here. This is my barn. It's built kind of like a covered bridge, with the long sides being solid and the ends being the doors. The outside is old fence boards, which have the benefit of being inexpensive as well as rated for outdoor use. It also has a block foundation. The block foundation is sunk into the ground, I don't know, about 15 centimeters maybe, 6 inches, something like that. This prevents water from seeping in under your walls when it rains. Now, if you get a lot of rain or a lot of water pooling on the outside of the barn, that will eventually fail. This has worked out very well for me. This is the gate into the barn. It is another chain link gate, once again for ventilation. In the winter I have this piece of plywood that I can drag in front of the entrance to reduce drafts, or in inclement weather when there's a lot of blowing rain I can put that up so that rain doesn't get in the barn. My barn has a dirt floor. This is pine pellet horse bedding. This is available at Tractor Supply. It's extremely absorbent and very long wearing. I like this because it reduces how much cleaning I have to do, and it keeps the barn very dry. These are my sleeping shelves. Goats really like to sleep on an elevated platform, so these are just wooden shelves that have been attached to the side of the barn. In the evenings I put a bucket of water here on this corner, and I put some hay on this little shelf. You can see some waste hay underneath. This is also a great place if you want to come in and just sit and enjoy your goats. This is my handmade mineral feeder. This is just an old jug. It's been attached to this post with zip ties. What I like about these is that when they get dirty or broken, they can simply be discarded. This one clearly needs to be thrown away soon. I just trim a little hole in there and they can get in and get their minerals. These are my feed trays. Right now they hold alfalfa pellets. They can also hold goat feed, loose minerals, or anything else that you want to leave out, free choice. These are a plastic tray. Once again, these are available at most feed stores, and they have a little lip on the one side. This is really designed to be screwed to something, but I like to leave them removable. It makes them easier to clean, easier to dump out. I can change them, I can prepare them ahead of time and bring them into the barn. Since they are designed to be screwed to something, what I made was this little board runs along the wall, and it has a block at either end. It creates a kind of lip that this sits into really nicely. I also over here have a old broom head that I have attached, once again with zip ties. I use a lot of zip ties because they're very easy to remove when I'm done with something. This saves some wear and tear on the fence and the sides of the barn. The goats can scrub up against it to scratch themselves instead of using the fence. This is another sleeping shelf, and what I like about this one is it has these little cubby holes. Young kids can curl up in here, especially in the winter when it's cold, to put some straw in there. They can jump in there and snuggle up together and keep out of drafts, as well as keeping out of the older goats' way. I have a window in my barn. Windows are great because they provide natural light. They can be opened for ventilation in the summer. To protect your glass from mischievous little goat hooves, and so that your goats don't get hurt if they accidentally break the glass, I put up a little bit of spare chain link over this. That prevents them from escaping when the window is open, and it protects the window itself from any particularly destructive little animals. You will notice that I have a lot of cobwebs. I don't remove my cobwebs. Spiders are an important part of a barn's natural ecosystem. They eat flies and other bugs. They can also indicate some health of your barn. If you have a lot of cobwebs, you have a healthy barn. If you notice that your spiders have all abandoned you, it's time to clean. This is my largely defunct kidding pen. This is a rather large pen. I think it's an 8x10. What I like about having a pen that's attached to the main loafing area is that I can section off a doe or an injured animal or an animal that's misbehaving, and I can put them in here so they are separate but not alone. They don't get lonely because they're right in with the rest of the animals. This pen needs some repair. I didn't breed anyone this spring. I will probably recommission this fall. The fence here broke. I fixed it with a dog leash. Not necessarily a recommended method of repair. It has an interior gate and an outside door. Some things that I would change about this is I would change that door out. I don't like the chain link door there. There's some gaps around it that small kids can squeeze through, which is ultimately why I stopped using this pen very much. So I would change that out for a solid door. That also reduces drafts. If you have kids born in cold weather, chain link door might be too drafty. And the other thing is that I would add its own attached outside run. This door just dumps out into the main paddock with everyone else, and there are times when I want to keep young kids or a pregnant doe completely separate from the herd so that she can't get jostled around. I've been using my quarantine pen as a kidding pen for the last couple of years, largely because it does have its own separate run and it's a little bit more secure. What I don't like about it is it does completely separate them from the herd, and that can be stressful to a doe that doesn't want to be lonely. However, in this area, she can have her own hay, she can have her own water, so she's not getting jostled around at feed time. If she gives birth in this pen, another doe can't step on a kid accidentally or bother the doe in labor. This is a tin roof. Tin roofs are very long-wearing, although they are quite loud. Always build your shelter with enough height for you to stand in comfortably. I can stand just barely at the short end of this barn and with quite a bit of headroom at the long end. Being able to stand up in your shelter is very helpful, especially for cleaning. The first time you have to clean a barn all bent over like an upside down L, you will be very much regretting that decision. It's also good if you and a helper need to get in to help with the doe in labor, or if there's an injured or sick animal that you need to retrieve. I don't have any power in my barn, so I use these little battery operated lights. They are attached here by a screw. They're removed quite easily to change the batteries, and they're quite bright at night. Especially in the winter, this is helpful. If you don't have power in your barns, these are called Flippets, I think. They are available, usually in the checkout lane. They're one of those impulse buy items. My mother got me these, and I really like them. Some people do have power in their barns, and that is totally fine too. I don't, simply because electricity does not enjoy being in a dusty, wet environment, and it does not enjoy being chewed on. I think that's everything. I'm going to put some more detailed pictures in the comments, and I will put some further explanations. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great one, guys.